morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's an honor to be here, and I really, it's great to hear about so many great organizations and causes in such a community. I'm actually from I was born and raised in Indianapolis, Indiana, but I really would say I'm from a small town called Greensburg, Indiana. And the interesting fact about Greensburg, Indiana is there's a tree that grows in a courthouse bell tower. The population is about 17,000 people. And the tree that grows in the courthouse bell tower is only indigenous to the mountains of Southern California. So I think it was a little serendipitous. Out of 120 family members, I am one of only 8 that live outside the county.
Wow.
So you can imagine when you have an entire family in Indiana and you decide to move to Hollywood, as my family says, it's quite the endeavor. So a little bit about just the Galleria. Give you a little bit of backstory, and then we can talk about the internet, because it's a question I've answered probably since I started in the industry in 2007. And probably if you speak to a lot of people in my industry, it's kind of a question we're kind of tired of answering, actually. But it's a very worthy question, because if you don't evolve and you don't change and you don't grow, you're going to fall behind, you're going to lag, and you're going to lose. So Galleria opened in '76. We're 42 years old. Since opening, we have almost maintained 100% occupancy over the entire 42 years. The only time our occupancy ever took a dip is when we actually went under redevelopment. And in 2013, our lowest occupancy ever was around 85%. And that's because in 2013, if you watched from day one through the time we reopened, we actually moved or relocated 42 stores.
Wow.
And the reason we did that as part of the shopper's experience is we started putting like stores and like price points by each other. If you went to the Galleria, probably 2008, 9, 10, 11, somewhere in there. If you wanted to go to Tilly's or PacSun and Zoomies and Aeropostale, and you wanted to, shop those stores, because that's the kind of apparel you were looking for, you would have literally had to cross the entire shopping center. Whereas today, you only have to go probably to the store next door. Kind of like the ad-age question that you guys have all probably noticed: why does Walgreens like to be right across the corner from CVS? Why is Target close to Walmart? Because retailers, and we know that you want to cross-shop, you are going to cross-shop. So why make you go through the extra effort, the consumer, to traverse an entire shopping center such as the Glendale Galleria? If you do one lap from Bloomingdale's to Target, second floor, go down the first floor and make that lap again, it's actually a mile. That's how big the shopping center is. So now you can see why we want to put like stores by each other. So obviously the internet, a lot of controversy out there. Is the internet really killing brick and mortar? So I'm going to give you a few stats so I can start painting a picture, and I'll let you kind of develop your own thoughts. So in the world of retail, one of the percentages or numbers that we kind of look at is GLA, or gross leasable area, per capita. So that means basically how many square feet of retail exist per person in an area, in a community, obviously. So we're going to look at countries. So in China, the average GLA per capita is 3. That means for every person, there's 3 square feet of retail. In France, there's 4. In the UK, there's 5. And most of you probably know Westfield Century City, Topanga, Culver City. They're based in Australia. In Australia, there's 11. In the United States, 24.
Wow.
In the United States, there are 302 cities with a population of 100,000 people or more. There are 875 JCPenney's, 669 Macy's, 1,115 Kohl's, 594 Sears. There are 1,100 malls. So if you think about just looking at the mall piece, because as we all probably know malls, if you think about the Galleria, how many small shops and how many small stores are in there, 1,100. And there's only 302 cities that have over 100,000 people. That means if you took that as a average number, that means that the city of Glendale should have 3 Glendale Gallerias.
Wow.
Now, those of you who've probably been in Glendale long enough or been around in the community, do you think our city of 218,000 people, 217 and some change, based on the sign on the I-134, that means, do you really honestly think that we could sustain 3 Glendale Gallerias in our community?
No.
Well, yeah, I mean, you have the Glendale Galleria and the Americana.
Yeah, so much people coming
Now
from
you have to
the
add
south.
you have to add another Glendale Gallery on top of that, and 2 more Americanas. So I think as you start to realize and develop, there's a lot of retail. So now, has the internet impacted us? Absolutely. It's impacted the retailers incredibly. Look at Sears. So I'm gonna use Sears as a tag, as Steve and I actually talked about this earlier, and he brought it up, and I don't know if he's done research or if he knew. So in 2017, yeah, right.
Legend in his own mind.
In 2017, if you do some research, various articles, you'll find that the internet-based businesses of total retail sales made up somewhere between 9 and 11% of total retail sales. Only somewhere between 9 and 11. So it's a good sized number. The fact that there's $5.4 trillion spent in retail. So that means that the internet business did approximately $550 billion on the internet. Amazon, the one we all know, Amazon attributes to nearly 50% of all e-commerce. So if you think about that, the $550 million, or $550 billion that's done across the internet, Amazon is 225 billion of it. So that means that 225 billion, very big number, is made up of all the other internet-based businesses you might think of. In 1988, I remember, believe it or not, I remember those days, because it was the catalog days. Sears, Roebuck, Kohl's, Penny's, every August, September, October, you get that real thick catalog, right? And kids or families, parents, they'd go through that catalog and they'd say, these are all the things I want, here's my Christmas wish list. I did that all the time, I remember doing that. So in 1988, total retail sales was $150 billion in 1988. Do you want to guess what the percentage of retail sales were of people that ordered through catalogs?
28%.
10%. So in 1988, 30 years ago, of the total retail sales, 10% was catalog-based businesses. So if I told you in 1988 catalogs made up 10% of total retail sales, in 2018 I told you internet sales made up only 10%, what do you translate that to be? In my opinion, I think Amazon's nothing more than internet catalog. So not to say that they're not a powerful engine and they're a powerful machine, they are an incredibly powerful machine. The other fun little fact I always like to throw and give to people other than the catalog statistic is if the internet was so important and that was the future, that malls are going to die, they're going to go away, and brick and mortar is going to go away, and everybody knows Amazon, and as I told you earlier, they are 50% of the e-commerce business. Why does Amazon have a brick and mortar presence in the Glendale Galleria? Why does Amazon have a brick and mortar presence in all 4 major malls in Los Angeles? Because Birchbox, and if you don't know what Birchbox is, it was one of the first monthly membership boxes for women or men who wanted to receive a trial sizes of various cosmetics and health and beauty products. So Birchbox, who had been around for several years, decided to do their first pop-up in New York City in 2014. So they would see on average, every month, about 200,000 internet searches or 200,000 internet-based clicks, if you will. When they opened their first brick and mortar pop-up in New York City, immediately the very next month, their internet clicks doubled. Because people still want to see, touch, feel, interact with a product. So is the internet killing brick and mortar? Absolutely not. It's evolving it. 70% of shoppers and consumers, when they go into a brick and mortar store, they're using their mobile device to either search the competitor, to find the price if they can find it better, cheaper. And now you start to see a lot of retailers actually saying that you find the price on Amazon or anywhere else, we'll honor it, we'll match it. Because it's making it more competitive. That's 100% the case. So I want to give some more little fun, I love the fun statistics. So let me give a couple of other fun things about Amazon. I'm not an Amazon employee, and I don't know exactly how much of this is 100% accurate, so I'm going to try to speak in round figures. So Amazon, obviously the largest e-retailer, can you guess how much they lose on the Amazon Prime membership a year? $7 billion. Amazon takes a shipping loss every single year by $7 billion. You can find it, they're very public about that actually. 70% of their shipments are actually on the back, are loaded into USPS trucks and delivery methods. The USPS, our postal service, every year for the past 5 years has lost over $1.5 billion a year in revenue. So of course, as your Amazon, there's an opportunity for you to leverage, you're going to keep them afloat because you're going to keep, the deliveries going. So that's how Amazon has really leveraged and minimized their losses through deliveries. And for any of those that ship and package, ship packages, letters, what have you, if you wanted to overnight something through FedEx, how much does it cost you? If you wanted to overnight a box, size of a football,
$80.
how much does it cost you to overnight it?
$85, $100.
So think about how much Amazon's then paying for that $20 shirt, or that piece of clothing, or those really cool paper airplane thumbtacks that I just bought, that I got the very next day. Think about how much that $6.99 purchase I just made, they just spent $12 to ship it to me the very next day. So it's a connectivity. Amazon, they want you to connect to the brand. They want you to, get engaged with their brand. So, if you're an Amazon Prime member, how many of you have Amazon Prime Music? How many have Amazon Prime TV? How many have the Amazon Fire Stick? It's growing and growing. That's their core business is web-based services, and that's where they make their money. So let me try to think if I can give you some other really fun statistics. All right, so let's talk about just retailing. Not enough about Amazon. So Omni-Channel Retailing is the tagline now. You have the retailers that are doing, the best are the stores that have learned to leverage a internet and mobile presence while also making sure that they have the right number of stores in the right markets, and that they, obviously maintain a favorable price for a consumer. So for the e-retailers, they actually, for every dollar they generate, they only actually really truly get 77 cents on the dollar. Because of, if you buy something on the internet, you might not like it, may not fit, you return it, you exchange it. All those things obviously attribute and essentially start whittling down that dollar. So for pure play e-retailers, for every dollar, they actually only get 77 cents. For those that buy online and return into a store, that retailer will get 95 cents on the dollar. For those that buy online and pick up store, how many ads of that are you seeing? Buy online, pick up in the store. Retailers that are successful in that get $1.07 for every dollar spent, because they will now get you to buy something else when you go inside the store. So now you're going to start seeing, and you walk through the Galleria and you watch all the storefronts, almost every major retailer says in their storefront, shoptheirstore.com. Bath and Body Works, Express, they all do it, because they've learned that they've got to be able to connect with you on that footprint. I think most of us probably have a smartphone, physically speaking, probably more iPhones than anything else, but they want to make sure they connect with you there. They know that the information age is upon us. How many times have you ever been in a conversation with someone and they make a comment, you're like, that doesn't sound right. One second. No, it's Alexa. So, the retail is evolving. It's certainly not dying, and it's certainly not going away because internet. Now, malls are going to make news. Malls are going to close. It's going to happen. I told you earlier there's 1,100 malls in the U.S. and if there's only 300 cities that have 100,000 people or more, I think anybody would already grasp that it's a little too much, just by a little bit. So I would not be surprised to see more malls closed here in LA. There will be some. I think Westside Pavilion, they just lost Nordstrom to Century City. So, but what's going to happen to that center? There's very good bones. Any of you that bought a home, sometimes you don't look so much at like what the interior of the house looks like. There's very good bones there is what they would say. And a lot of shopping centers, they will evolve. They will turn into something else. They'll turn into community centers. They'll turn into office buildings. They'll add, universities. They'll add medical uses. They'll transform. It's going to be a pain point for a little while, but it'll evolve. It will change. And that's all part of just business, right? So another one of my favorite statistics, because malls are in your face. Malls are huge. They're very important to the community. The Glendale Galleria is probably, if I'm not the largest, and I don't think I am, I think I'm number 2 in total sales tax revenue provided to the city of Glendale. More than $500 million are generated in sales at the Galleria. Somewhere north of nearly $700 million. It's a lot of money. Almost twice as many people as Disneyland go through the Galleria every year too. In 2016, Disney released their annual visitors 16.9 million. In 2016, I saw approximately 30 million people. Still think malls are dying? So another one of my favorite statistics, as I was going to say, over the next 5 years, of the 1,100 malls, there's probably about 20% of them are at risk. And they probably will close. It's going to happen. It's a natural part of business, right? What's the percentage of cereal brands as you walk down your grocery store and you see all those different cereals? What do you think the percentage of cereal brands that fail every year? 34%. Is it a big deal? No, another cereal will fill its place. So, malls are going to die. They're going to. There are malls that aren't, I'm not saying malls, the industry. There are going to be malls that fail. Businesses fail. It's a part of life. Demographic shift. People move. Communities change. We've been very fortunate that Glendale has been a very strong community, continues to be a very strong community, and I think will continue into the future be a very strong community because we're constantly looking to the future. We're constantly evolving, constantly asking questions. Why? One of the things that I've managed 15 malls in 10 cities in 10 years. I've done a lot of moving. This is the longest I've been in any one property. I'm glad that I don't have to move again. Not moving. My favorite thing, the thing that I hate the most, when I would meet my new staff and get to know the mall, the one thing I hate hearing, why do we do it that way? That's the way we've always done it. Why? How often are you evolving? How often are you questioning your business practices, your policies, your procedures? How often do you talk with your people about that? Because I can tell you right now, as we kind of joked, I said, hold on, let me see if that's true or not. We are in a very fast-paced economy. If whatever you did last year, chances are that may be too old already. 10 years ago, I guarantee it's too old. If you've been doing something for the way you've been doing it for more than 10 years, you may want to sit down and start evaluating it. So I don't know if you guys do questions. I'm more than happy to do questions. I think that actually kind of leads to probably some better dialogue instead of you guys listening to me rattle statistics and random numbers and put you to sleep. But let's go to questions. I think that's usually more exciting.
What has the gallery seen for rental rates from pre-Americana to when the Americana opened to now?
So the Americana, and so I came after those that have been in Glendale for quite some time. There were some things that happened. So luckily I came after all of that. Thank God.
You wouldn't be here if you did.
Yeah. I would have quit when all that happened. I would just forget that. Never mind. So the Americana and the Galleria that is probably one of the only few places in the United States where you have two competing shopping centers literally adjacent to each other. When you look at the tenant mix of Americana, very entertainment, restaurant heavy. You look at the Galleria, we are very retail heavy. So very thankful for the Americana because we feed off each other incredibly well, like incredibly well. And one of the reasons why when you walk through the Galleria, one reason we do not have restaurants is because restaurants can't afford the rent. Well, they could, but of course I'm a business owner. I need to maximize my revenue. Restaurants need huge footprints. 8, 9, 10,000 square feet. I need stores that can produce the same amount of volume as a Cheesecake Factory. Only need about 2,500 square feet. So rent is a product of sales. So if you think about that math, I'm going to do more 2,500 square foot people than I am 10,000 square foot people. Victoria's Secret, directly across from Cheesecake Factory, Victoria's Secret does as much as, if not more, than Cheesecake Factory. And they're 2,000 square feet less, which means I get another store that's going to pay rents on top of that. So what are rents exactly? They're all lease based, but we are incredibly happy with the feeding off each other that exists today between us and Americana.
And have the rents gone up?
So I wouldn't say rents have gone up because of the Americana after 2008 and 9. Rents have gone up after we redeveloped.
Sure.
After we evolved our tenant mix and really got the right tenants in the right place. That's what I really attribute our rents increasing by. Because obviously again it's a product of sales. 2008, 9 after Americana was ground broke and started to get ready to open. We still had a vacant Mervyn's. We were losing Nordstrom. We had my favorite thing. I love seeing the pictures. The Teen Zone or the Zone. Man, I wish I could have seen that. I was even told we had a DJ booth on the 3rd floor. Like we even had a DJ booth. I would have been up there like every Friday night. It's like it's the mall manager hour. So, yeah.
And the retailer over at Glendale Galleria for the Red Robin, what happened with them? Did they have to pay higher rent and they left, or?
So so with Red Robin, we did lose Red Robin and moved Kevin's Jewelers and brought in Finish Line. It was literally the last athletic shoe brand that we did not have. We have every major athletic shoe brand retailer. We have them all except for Finish Line. Finish Line had been dying, not dying. They've been trying for a long time to get into the Galleria. So of course we approached Red Robin when the release was coming up. We offered some other locations and we kind of just tabled it because the locations that we had that we would be able to really turn into a restaurant. Because again, restaurants they're not easy. They don't fit a box very well. You have plumbing, you have grease lines, waste. You have a lot of other MEP issues, hoods, things like that. We just couldn't find a space that would make sense for them. Not yet. We remain in talks with them 100% because we've got 30 or 40 Red Robins across our portfolio of 122 malls. It just really became a timing thing.
Congratulations first, by the way. I grew up and remember when the Galleria opened. And I do actually think that building the Americana, I just want you to know, is actually what's made me re-fall in love with the Galleria. And under your leadership, there's some great stores, so kudos to you.
I'd love to say it was all me.
I know. I do have 2 questions, if I may.
Yeah.
One is a short one. Do you think you'll have a kiosk of See's Candy in the Galleria? Just because A, it's inconvenient to run back and forth. I've already experienced that. And 2, can you talk us through how you pick anchor stores, like when a Nordstrom's leaves, how you go out to something like how you decided on Dick's Sports? Or
Yeah. I'm a very long-winded person, so I apologize. No. Your questions were not long-winded at all. So will See's ever have another presence at the Galleria instead of going to the Americana?
Yeah.
It's possible. It is. When you look in between Americana and the Galleria, there's 5 MAC stores. 5. There's 5 MACs in MAC Cosmetics. right there, 5 of them. We have 2 Apple stores. You know, there's an Apple store in Americana, that was the first Apple store at the Galleria. And so if you didn't know that, we have the first Disney store, the first Apple store, the first multi-level Target and shopping center, first Cotton On in the US, we have the first Farley Rose. So, you know, whenever retailers come to the US or they want to test the market, Glendale with the Galleria is always considered. How do we choose anchors? So I'm gonna tell you a little bit of a story. So Caruso, Americana, actually owns that building. So in 2009-10 probably, Caruso started engaging Nordstrom to buy their building. So Rick Caruso actually owns the old Nordstrom building. So he chose Dick's Sporting Goods and Gold's Gym. Necessarily may not have been like my choice, but happy with it, very happy with it, because it definitely adds to our retailer mix. So when it comes to anchors, that's another fun little category right now. JCPenney's closing stores, Macy's closing stores. The ones in Glendale, you guys have nothing to fear. We have the second highest transaction count Target in the world. We have the -- Frappuccino Starbucks in a Target in the world. So there's a lot of very big in the retail world. All of our stores are usually in the top 5% of their brands in the entire country. So how do we pick anchors? You know, it's usually part of a big conversation. You know, usually when you're engaging and talking to Macy's, Nordstrom, Bloomingdale's, you know, they're usually not talking about one center specifically. There's usually a portfolio that's being discussed. Anchors really aren't moving and shifting too much. So how did Rick land Dick's Sporting Goods and Gold's? You know, we probably, you know, if it were our building, let me tell you how we would have approached it if it were our building. We would have thought about the retailers that are in that wing. We would have selected, you know, a handful of retailers or department stores that we would have wanted to put there. And we would have approached them and asked them gauge their interest, would have tried to done a deal. And it's what Rick did, I would assume. Anchors closing, Macy's, Penny's, and Target's. You know, Target's not really closing stores, but they're obviously one of the anchors at the Galleria. If I could have any of my department stores back, I'd take them in a heartbeat. Because the future right now, you know, when we used to call them anchors, we don't really refer to them as anchors anymore. Because, you know, in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, they were the big traffic drivers. You know, they were the ones spending the millions of dollars in the advertising. They were the ones with all the sales. But now the shopper really wants boutique. They want unique. They want something that you're not getting in the masses. You know, they want to be individualized. They want the pink bow tie and the blue blazer that they can't get anywhere else. Gotta love millennials, right? So that's why, you know, when you look at anchors, I would not be surprised if you don't see malls really try to get back wherever we can. I mean, GGP's been doing it. Wherever we can buy a Sears, we're buying the Sears building back so we can redevelop it.
Why did you introduce or what is the benefit of this valet parking in the Galleria Mall?
The benefit of valet?
Yeah.
That's another little perfect segment, and Nina's getting close. That means I must shut up soon. So valet is important from an experience standpoint. You know, obviously we know our biggest pain point is parking. So that's why we just invested millions of dollars to do those red lights and green lights you see in the parking lot. And if you work in the downtown market and you park at the Galleria because it's free and your employer's not, I'm going to find you because those red lights and green lights actually read license plates. So if you told me your license plate and you've been to the Galleria, I can tell you when you visited, how long you parked, and where you parked. So valet.
So can you tell me where my car is when I lose it?
Yeah, so but you know, it's not, don't worry, it's not Big Brother, I'm not watching it. I've got too many other things to do. But you know, one of the reasons why parking is a pain point is because that actually is the case. If you've been in Glendale long enough, you guys all know, let's park at the Galleria because it's free, then we'll go to the Americana. And that's okay, you know, you shop there, totally fine. The burden that we face is that people actually do park at the Galleria. They go work at BJ's, they go work at Islands, they go work at 101 North Brand, they go work at America, they go work at Americana, so they're taking your spaces, the shopper spaces away. That's one of our biggest pain points. Valet is incredibly important, and I think one thing I would encourage all of you to do a little research and reading on, because I'm sure Nina's tired of standing next to me, is the future of autonomous cars and how that's going to impact our world. If you don't think it's coming, it's already here. Both Pittsburgh has a fully fleet of autonomous cars. Uber has an entire fleet of autonomous cars without drivers in them today. We've already made, Budweiser's already made a fully autonomous delivery with a semi from Boulder, Colorado to Denver. So it is in 2020, or 2025, Los Angeles, Dallas, Miami, and New York City are expected to be 70+% fully autonomous. So my parking garages, not as important anymore.
Do you have 1 minute to share what's going in with the void?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I probably could have done a better job to pitch the Galleria, right? Right in our front door, if you guys have been recently, there's a giant barricade that says "The Void" on it. And this is probably the future of retail to some degree, is experiential retailers. So The Void is actually a fully immersive virtual reality experience. You actually wear a vest, you get a helmet, in the helmet there's noise canceling headphones, and you get a blaster because it's the Star Wars experience. So you actually walk through a physical environment, and you'll see through the Oculus, you'll see a whole other alternate reality, and you actually will be able to touch and feel physical things that you see on your screen.
Fellowship event?
I did it. They actually have a test lab actually on Disney's campus here in Glendale, and we did the Ghostbusters experience where we actually walked through a New York City apartment, and you could walk closer to the window and you hear the noises getting louder, and you walk away from the window, they get softer. And then we actually destroyed the Marshmallow Man, and when we did, all of a sudden you could smell roasted marshmallow. So like it is a fully immersive. It's intense. It's a lot of fun. They're actually opening March 16th. Tickets are on sale now. So check it out. The Void.
The void, great. Well, thank you. We're gonna do a little wrap, but before we go, here is a club pin. And
thank you.
since Rick Dinger loves when I say the historic Alex Theater, I thought I would give you a historic Alex Theater pin.
Oh, that is awesome.
No. So it's good as the new cool
Oh,
is our theme. And then this is just a thank you gift. It's made by someone, a woman across the globe that is trying to lift her family out of poverty. So because you were here today, sharing with us, impacting us today and the decisions we make, you're helping someone else. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Welcome.